Leading While Black provides the tools you need to become a better leader in your business, relationships, and community. I am your host, Damon Moore. My guest for this episode is Alex Locker. Alex is an investment advisor for Locker Wealth Management.
Hello, this is Alex.
Hey, this is Damon Moore. How are you?
Hey, Damon. Doing well.
Good. Wanted to talk with you today about kind of an exploration of the relationship between coaching sports and coaching financial clients. But before we get started on that, if you could give listeners a little background on who you are and what it is that you do and those kinds of things.
Sure. My name is Alex Locker. I am a certified financial planner with Locker Wealth Management in Country Club Hills, Illinois. I have been in the financial services industry since 1996. Attended Butler University, member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and professionally, I was with Merrill Lynch for a number of years in a number of different roles as a financial advisor, also with some experience operationally, on a member of a team, as well as I worked a little bit with our regional management. After the financial crisis, I left Merrill Lynch and formed Locker Wealth Management, and here we are.
So you formed Locker Wealth Management in what year?
It was formed in 2009, which is just after, it was, about 6 months after Merrill Lynch had merged with Bank of America.
Okay. And within Locker Wealth Management, what kinds of services do you provide?
Well, we are Locker Wealth Management is a financial planning and investment consulting firm. So what I help people do is save, protect, grow, and transfer their wealth in a tax-friendly and time-friendly way. We do that in a number of different ways, but I think one of the things that makes us different is how well we integrate our solutions with, the advice that you're getting from your accountant as well as your attorney, estate planning attorney in particular. So our job is to keep things simple for the client and help them achieve their goals.
Okay. We had a conversation not too long ago where you were kind of talking about some of the relationships between coaching in sports and coaching your financial clients. Before I get into those relationships, what kind of coaching are you doing with regard to the sports?
Well, I have an 11-year-old son. So since he's been 5 or 6, I've coached him in anything from soccer to baseball, which is his predominant sport, his favorite sport, as well as flag football. And, in our conversation, I know I mentioned it, but there are a lot of similarities in terms of how you relate ideas and what you try to accomplish given a situation. So there are a number of similarities between sports and advising financial clients.
Like what?
Well, example, I'll take off speaker. I was getting a little bit of an echo, so forgive me.
Sure, no problem.
The number one thing that I've learned is that you have to start by really understanding the person that you're working with or talking to. It all starts with understanding and communication. So you have to understand how much experience this person has in a given area. What are they trying to accomplish? Are they trying to learn more? Are they just trying to, have fun in terms of sports? Are they trying to learn more? Are they trying to get to another level in terms of their own experience? Or are they there to help part of the team? So it all starts with understanding there. Now, to make the translation to a client, you can't just start throwing out products and services, which is ironically what I found a lot of other advisors have done. And they talk about the benefits of those. It doesn't matter unless you understand what your client is trying to accomplish. So the first thing is to sit back and listen. I mean, you build the rapport, but sit back and listen and ask pertinent questions so that you can really understand their perspective and their viewpoint about what money means to them. What are they trying to accomplish it? Why are they trying to accomplish it? How have they made their decisions in the past? And what has worked? What hasn't worked? And that's where you can come in and really begin to show some value of, well, this part really was good, but you might want to consider doing something else. Um, in terms of sports, when you're coaching, you also want to show and reflect the same sort of things that you want your players to reflect. So you don't want to show you need to be organized. You don't want a kid to show up with no cleats or no glove or anything along those lines. So you need to show that you're organized and set that expectation. You need to show that you're calm when the situation will require it. You need to help people, help your players when it needs to with instructions. Sometimes it's encouragement, sometimes it's guidance. With a client financially, it's much the same. When the market is exceptionally volatile, they don't want to see an advisor who doesn't have a plan. They want to have an idea that, okay, these sorts of things happen, or this was expected. This is why we have done X, Y, and Z, or will do X, Y, and Z, where we've talked about it. And then you also have to show that you have a plan and how the plan is working or is not. It's more than just absolute returns. It's also risk management.
So when do you talk about setting expectations? At what point are you looking to set those expectations?
Before you start, I mean, that's the first thing. When with the teams that I've coached, I've always started the year with a team meeting where we not only become acquainted, but we also begin to lay out the expectations for what we want to accomplish, why we want to accomplish it, and how we're going to accomplish it. That way the kids can ask any questions, the parents can ask questions, and then as we go along, it's important to always bring back the drills or the practice to certain things that you've mentioned before. With a client, you want to set the expectations up front. The one thing that, I have a saying with many of my clients: control what you can and plan for what you can't. So when you start a relationship, what I've found over the years is that clients understand that things will happen, but they want to know that these are the steps, these are the options that are on the table or off the table. They want to know that I, as an advisor, have already thought about what can happen and what steps that we may take. How often are we going to be in communication? And is that going to be electronically? Is that going to be over the phone? Is that going to be in person? The one thing that clients don't like is uncertainty. And with what I found over the years is, especially with clients that have come over from other advisors, where there's not the communication or where they don't really understand what's going on, it's that uncertainty that makes them uncomfortable and dissatisfied. So the more you can, just be transparent and upfront, the better off they'll be.
So how do you kind of set that out? The idea that, or informing the person or the client that that you've already planned or considered contingencies in advance? How do you do that?
Well, it starts off with explaining your philosophy and your mentality. So, I will sit and listen to what a client is trying to accomplish, and then I'll tell them about the process that we go through and making it as transparent and as understandable as possible. So once we plan, we identify some options, we implement a solution, and then we monitor the solution moving forward. So periodically, that means I'm going to be in touch, just letting you know how we're doing, what I'm seeing, and what may happen given certain circumstances, and what we would do if that does happen. So the first time, if we need to change something, it is not the first time that the client has heard that. They've heard me mention things over and over. And I'll give you an example. Going back to the Merrill situation getting bought out, many times in working with an advisor or with any firm, the client would ask, well, what happens if Merrill Lynch goes out of business? We know it's a big, strong company, but what happens if, what would happen with my account? And I would explain FDIC protection. I would explain FIPC protection, that there are a number of levels and layers of protections that for the client. But I would also mention that if Merrill did go out of business, that meant we would have much larger problems in our economy, and that we would need to discuss that at that time. Well, and over a weekend in 2009, 2008, whichever it was, when Merrill got bought out, the first thing I did that following Monday was sent out an email saying, do you remember when I said there would be much larger problems in the economy? Well, here we are. And then I'm going to have a conference call at such and such day and time where we can talk through it. So that way clients knew that I was seeing what they were seeing, that I understood that there were some things that needed to be done. I explained as much as I could, and then went to the next step. So the worst thing you could do in a time of crisis for any leader is not communicate, because then the troops are so to speak, the troops or your clients are left wondering what's going on and what to do. And in the absence of direction, initiative takes place. So if you don't direct and guide people on what's going on and why, and here's what's going to happen, people will make their own decisions. And that can be, advantageous or disadvantageous for you. Most of the time it's disadvantageous. So you want to make sure that people are doing the right things. So you've got to set the tone and communicate.
How much of that did you pick up at Merrill Lynch as opposed to your own practice or in some period earlier in life?
Well, it actually started much earlier. Frankly, I would say it started during the college days. In attending Butler, I think, the common theme there was people attended for certain reasons, big city, small school, so on and so forth. But I also went to Indianapolis with the intention of being able to, build a network in a city that I could see myself living. So along those lines, and with a number of experiences, I was able to get involved, for example, in student government and understood how to communicate and what the tone, what the expectations were at given levels. You always need to understand the environment of where you are, but then be able to communicate, because ultimately, if there's something that you are trying to accomplish or something someone else is trying to accomplish, you have to be able to understand and then persuade to move in that direction. So it started there. It also, and with any group, whether it's student government, whether it was when I pledged a fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, you have to learn to work with others. And again, that means understanding where they're coming from and why, and being clear. because if you have a goal that you're going to accomplish together, you all have to be on the same page. So it's just an overall sense and theme of transparency, and also being level-headed. Um, Generally speaking, you find, in my experience, I found that the best leaders, let me rephrase that, I found that people follow two different types of people. One are the ones that are calm, methodical, move forward, uh, and are determined to reach the goal. The second group is someone who follows where they're exciting, they're interesting. They may or may not necessarily um, be everything you're looking for, but they're at least intriguing. And so people will follow them to see what's next or what's going to do, or here's what increases my social status, um, or perceived social status. Either one of those can be fine depending on what you are trying to accomplish and what you are trying to say about yourself. I prefer the methodical one, where I think you can really help everyone progress toward one goal. I think that makes more sense, and frankly, it's more useful as you move forward in life. So that's a bit of a tangent, but I hope it answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely did. What and I guess somewhat related to what you've just said, how would you describe your own leadership or coaching style as it relates to your financial clients?
Well, for the financial clients, I would describe it as transparent. Uh, I want my clients to be educated. They don't all need to, know everything that I've acquired over the years in terms of the same knowledge base, but I want them to understand at least why we're doing certain things. They need to be educated about their money. It's their money. I can only advise them on it. And if they make a decision, they just need to understand the implications. So I would say transparent and educational. And then from there, frankly, it's my job to keep things simple where they can spend the time and energy and resources on the things that they enjoy or need to, whether that's work, family, hobbies, um, employees, because I want them to be informed, but not necessarily involved on a daily basis. That's why I'm there, to take that piece off of them.
Okay. So I imagine that you have advised numerous clients over the years. What clients are the most challenging to advise?
Well, I would say this. The first thing is, in that initial conversation where I lay out expectations of, this is how I function and how we can work together, it's also somewhat of a mutual interview to make sure it's a good fit. Because if it's not, they're going to be unhappy and I'm going to be unhappy. But I'll give you an example. During the .com days, there was a gentleman I was speaking with, and he understood the value that I brought to the table. We built up a good relationship, but he was so enamored with day trading and speculation, which is something I was very much against and am very much against, that he literally would get to the point of filling out an entire form online, and then or it was either online or on the phone, I can't recall specifically, but he would get to the point of clicking to actually send the order, and he couldn't do it. He was addicted to the rush, but not what he was trying to accomplish. So for people who are more enamored with, for lack of a better phrase, the sizzle rather than the steak, if they're more enamored with the style of how something gets done versus what's actually getting done, I'm not their person.
Okay.
The people who work best with me, I found, are the people who have a clear goal that they're trying to get in mind, that they're trying to accomplish. B, they tend to be delegators to a degree. I mean, they understand it's their money, but they want someone to do certain things so that they can leverage their time, that makes sense. That's why we're here. And C, they want a view of the big picture. They're not looking at, just a particular trade or trading strategy. They want to know that if I do these things over the years, will I be in a position to retire, to send my child to college, to manage my estate, and so on, to take care of an organization that I care about. Those are the things that, people truly value. How you get there, people can differ, and that's where you just have to show, here's what I can do for you.
What ways do you think it would be useful for a person to educate himself or herself before bringing somebody like you onto the team to advise?
Well, specifically regarding their finances, or are you talking about just in general? What should someone do before seeking an expert?
Let's go with that. What a person should do before seeking an expert.
Okay. In general, here's what I would say. Number one, at least do some cursory reading on, online books, articles, whatever it may be, from reputable sources about what you should expect. You don't have to become completely educated on the whole area, and you don't want to be paralyzed by analysis, as they say. But you do want to have a basic understanding. The second, go in and interview the person. Have a list of questions that you can ask. For example, I will often direct people toward to a website that the Certified Financial Planning Board of Standards will send out, and it's a public website. It has questions that you can ask your investment advisor, so that way you can be more educated about what this person will actually bring to the table. But those sorts of things are common in a number of different areas. If you're getting your home fixed, here are 10 questions that you should ask your contractor, as an example. So once you have a clear idea of what you're trying to communicate, you've done some cursory reading, you understand that you may not necessarily have the time, desire, or inclination to accomplish it yourself or to try and do it yourself. You seek out an expert, whether it's from a referral, whether it's from certain boards, such as the CFP Board of Standards, or Angie's List, or anywhere where you can get an idea of what this person is really about, or what this company is really about. From there, talk to several different people, and then determine who you're most comfortable with. From a fee viewpoint, from a relationship viewpoint, because it's someone you're going to be working with and talking to on an ongoing basis. It's not about a product sale.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, it does. I want to make sure that I respect your time, so I'm going to stop there, and then perhaps we can have you back on here at some point in the future. I wanted to say thank you for spending some time with us, and best wishes moving forward.
No problem. Anytime, David.
All right, you take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.